Dark romance. Let's talk about it. Before we get there, we gonna pay homage to the Roundtable Game Show a couple of times. So here's a jump cut. Now that we're back, we discussed some deep topics and have some questions that get into our opinion of what dark romance is, what it means, what should and maybe shouldn't be included, and kind of where the subgenre is going. I have this conversation with Ayla Cox and Mia Heintzelman, and if you don't want to hear real opinions of the subgenre, maybe this isn't the episode for you. Otherwise, strap in. Here we go. All right. So let's start off with introductions. I want y'all to tell me how you got started as an author, a little bit about yourself.
I can start. So I've been writing pretty much my whole life. But like life happens. I started working, fell into the pit of corporate America. And something kind of happened in 2023 that made me kind of like reevaluate my life. I call it my midlife crisis, even though I'm not midlife yet. I picked up something I had started writing on Bart back in, I think it was at the end of 2022. And I just kind of like fluffed it out. And that's how kind of Tempted was born. And then I didn't really expect much. I came up with a really silly pen name. And I didn't really like plan it out. It just kind of happened. And then the next book came out, and then the next book came out, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. People like these. So that's kind of how it started. But the funny thing is I always imagined myself writing urban fantasy. And so writing strictly romance has been interesting.
Well, you could always branch out.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Listen, I'm just saying because I got some back burner stuff too. I feel it.
I heard
Absolutely.
that.
Right? And Mia.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Mia Heintzelman. I write contemporary rom-coms, dark romance. I've been branching out, a little bit of poetry. Yes, writing has been a thing my whole life as well. Started in the third grade with, that riveting hit, Darren and the Parrot. I still got it. And I got a little trophy for it. And I knew I wanted to be a writer back then. But then, life takes its detours, bills need to be paid and that kind of thing. And then people say, oh, writing will never be a career or pay the bills. And you have all the naysayers. But I just kept writing quietly. And then one day I saw in the back of, I think it was like a Avon or a Harlequin book. And it was like, do you want to come write for us, or would you want to write for us, or something along those lines? And I was like, well, do I? And then I was like, okay, well, let me get some little craft books. I became a craft book junkie because I wanted to learn the best way that I could try to go ahead and do it. And then I got started. That was about, let's see, well, poetry started in 2000, children's books in 2006, and then romance started in about 2017. And then I didn't really get all the way started to about 2018. Yep. And now I love romance, and the backlist is backlisting.
Hey.
That part.
I heard that.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. So dark romance in particular can encompass so many different types of stories, but somehow we just have this weird focus where it's just the taboo. I don't know how we got here. I don't know why we're here. Like, I don't know how we got to the point of that being defined as like what dark romance is. I mean, I have an idea, but I ain't gonna go there. But what do you say really grasps the subgenre and like what it's supposed to be about? Ayla, let's start with you.
I think it kind of starts with the relationship between the two of them and how it kind of develops, right? Because he's going to have some darkness to her, but she's also going to have a hint of something. Like she's not exactly pure, right? And so I think that I think having that, that nice dynamic is what works in a really good dark romance. But for me, I think that the thing that a lot of people miss in dark romance is that connection and that vibe between the characters. And
Mm-hmm.
the focus is too much, like you said, on this taboo, like I'm doing all these
Yeah.
creepy things and she has no idea. And it just, that to me doesn't really speak to romance. That speaks to obsession.
Right.
And I think, one thing that we miss a lot is that some things that are categorized as dark romance, I feel like definitely are more fitting in the erotic horror genre. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to like differentiate between something that is like a little bit more horrific was still kind of maintaining that erotic aspect
Right.
versus two people building a relationship together, because that's what the essentialness of romance is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's mostly like having that connection and also owning up to all this, because you can do the creepy things in the background as long as you own up to it. Like if you put
Right.
cameras in her house and she never finds out about it, and you like come in her shampoo or whatever and she never finds out about it, that's weird. That's there's a line and you're over here. That's horror.
Ooh.
But if like she knows that you did it and she uses it anyways, or if she like looks the camera in the eye and like strips for you, that's totally different because
That's a
y'all
whole
were on this
different vibe.
page.
Yep.
Right.
So
Also, the come to shampoo is, I literally have tears.
I mean, that was classic right there. We need to just put that on some ad copy right there. Be ready to roll.
Give me a go.
Look, it's selling it stuff. It's selling it.
I mean, is it? I heard that you use it as a facial moisturizer. Why wouldn't it moisturize your hair? I don't know.
I mean, they show like it in their beard, so why
Yeah.
can't women use it on their
Mm.
hair, face,
That's all I'm gonna
lotion?
say. I feel like we need that
Mm.
moment. Yes.
Mia, what would you say really grasps the subgenre and what it's supposed to be about?
Okay, I'm in full agreement. I feel like there's a little bit of a darker theme, and by that I mean there's a little bit of danger afoot, and mix it with a little bit of a romance, erotica, okay, and then that connection, because the romance is central, because it's called dark romance, which means there needs to be that happily ever after or happy for now at the end. So the romance is central, and around them and their connection, there's a darker theme, a danger afoot, something that feels unsettling and unnerving. That you just, it's not upbeat and lighthearted. There's things happening that make it feel like my life is at risk, but I'm also in love, and it's not romantic suspense either. So I think that is very important.
Yeah, there's a difference. There is a difference
Yes.
between romantic,
And there's a lot of
and
genre blending that happens nowadays. People take one here, put it here, and then boom, I got horror romance. I've got this and that. But this, we need the dark, to me, is what we're trying to define. And I think the dark means there's an element of unsettling, unnerving behavior and environment.
Yes. Yes, because obsession doesn't always equal love. And I think that
Correct.
those two, people conflate the two, definitely.
Yes.
And I think that he can be obsessed with her, but I also feel like it has to be a give and a take, right? And that's where the romance comes in, because if he's just obsessed with her, he's doing all this crazy ass stuff in the background, how is that romance? To me, that doesn't compute, right? If she's terrified and he's, pushing boundaries, he's, leaving things in her apartment. He's not necessarily like showing himself to her. He's just creeping her out. It just doesn't, that doesn't compute to me. And also, this is a big one for me. If he's sitting there insulting her the whole time, look, this is a romance. You're supposed to be wooing her. You're calling her all kind of sluts and whores, and like,
It like to a point, yes, but if she's into that and she wants it, it has to
True.
be consensual.
True.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That
Absolutely.
part.
It can't just be like you're saying it and she's so obviously uncomfortable
A
and
lot of
you're just
these
Mhm.
doing it
romances
the
are
whole time.
red flags,
Yeah.
unhealthy,
Yes.
get out immediately. They are not romance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in like situations where the sex is rough and she's crying, she's in pain, she's uncomfortable, and he's just continuing to push her boundaries. That to me doesn't that's not
That's
romantic.
assault.
And I think there's also a line between like consensual non-consent and non-consent, and I feel like
Yeah.
people
Right.
don't really understand the difference between
And
those
dubious
two as well.
consent because it's like
Oh,
I
yes.
don't think people understand, like you were saying, there's so many different layers to it. And
Mm-hmm.
like some
Mm-hmm.
people don't like it at all. Some people are like, long as it's explicit, like you
Yep.
can obviously tell this is not assault, then
Mm-hmm.
we can have
Right.
that conversation. But people don't understand the difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I always worry too that the way that I'm framing things in my books can be misconstrued and people will go and try something. So like I had like I was back and forth on it, but at the end of Insatiable, Hugh puts a belt around Denise's neck
Mm.
and he doesn't
Mm.
ask her beforehand. And so,
Mm.
like, I explicitly call it out a little bit later on. Like, I should have asked you for consent. That was my bad,
Mm.
right? But like,
Right.
she was fine with it. She didn't tell him to stop. She was very into it in the moment, and I think he just needed her. He just needed her to say that to him to understand.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't want to like frame things in these books as like, oh yeah, go out and let some dude put a belt around your neck because I'm sure it'll have fun.
No.
Because there's so much that goes into it, and it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
It definitely comes down to like how long have you known this person? Have
Yeah,
you built up that strength and not strength,
exactly.
that
Mm-hmm.
trust and
Mm-hmm.
everything? Because if you're just
Yes, there's
out
an
on a
element
one
of
night stand and
trust.
you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
hand necklace, please. Like, I don't know you.
he could be a serial killer. He could be
Right.
crazy. He end up
Yes.
nope.
Listen, I had a question later that I was going to bring up, but I think it goes really well into this one, so I'm going to mention it now. And it's more like again in that void of everything just really taboo, and people forget the other sides of dark romance. So just the
Mm-hmm.
bully romances, the mafia, the gangs, the stalkers, like all of that is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Almost anything that you find in dark romance can be fine as long as it's framed properly. But then
Yes.
we're
And
seeing a
written
lot, right?
properly.
Framed properly,
Yes.
written well. Like, there's a whole channel that I love. This woman just goes in on the dark romances, and it's hilarious. I'll share it later
Yes.
because I can't think of it right now. But there's also this large influx of like incest and attempted murders and
Mm.
the Stockholm syndromes, and like, how do we deal with that as dark romance? Personally, I don't think incest is romantic.
It's not for me. Um, I do think that this is a subgenre where it's one of those don't yuck somebody else's yum situation.
To an
But
extent.
yes, that's where I was going with this. To an extent,
Yeah.
we need to have some boundaries around it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those taboo topics, I don't feel comfortable with them
Yeah.
personally. Um, I guess if somebody writes it well, I guess, but I just can't see myself ever picking up incest because that just feels wrong. I
Yeah.
don't have a proper answer for that. It's just not for me,
Yeah.
is what I'm going to end that with.
Yeah. I can't hang. I I can lie to you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like it, I love
Yeah.
that you like it. But for me, it's not something that I will ever write or I will ever go out of my way to enjoy.
Correct.
I think, like
Yes.
you said, there's layers to it, right? Where if it's like step siblings and they're
Yeah.
adults and they meet, that's totally different. But when they grow up together and
Right.
there's like a familial connection, that makes my tummy yucky. Um,
Yeah.
but I also understand like the psychology of it, and like um you can't
This.
change what turns you on, I guess, in some aspects. And so if that's what you like, that's what you like. But like you said, there's definitely lines. I think,
Yeah.
when there's people who are attracted to children who are teenagers or
Uh,
whatever, that's fucking
yeah.
weird. I don't like that. Um,
Right.
The
if she's
Same.
grooming.
I can't do
exactly,
pedophilia or like racist type things, like
that's where I
Nazi
was going
romance or
next.
anything like
That
that.
is where I was
None
going
of
next.
those will ever
Yeah,
be okay for me.
yeah,
Sorry
because
to
to
interrupt you.
me, no, to me, like race play, I will. It just
Mm-mm.
I will never understand it. I understand that for some people it's cool, but for me, somebody like taking like you're naked, you're vulnerable, and he starts calling you the N word.
No, no, that's a hard
Like
no
I
for
don't
me.
feel this is not romantic. This is not safe. This doesn't feel safe. Some people might be into
I
it, but it
know, and
Yeah.
I
very much
feel like
feels
this becomes like a catch-all for things that
Mm,
are wrong, that are morally not okay,
hmm.
and people just are
Yeah.
like, well,
ethically
that's what
morally.
I'm into. And it
Yeah.
still, for me, needs to have boundaries, strong lines that we shouldn't be crossing, and that's one of them, along with
Absolutely.
pedophilia.
Absolutely. And I think, when I think about like pedophilia, I think that we often think about it as younger children, but I often like I focus primarily when I'm thinking about it on like 15 to 17 because I feel
Hmm.
like there is a problem, especially within the Black community, of trying to age up teenagers and make
Yes.
Oh,
them
for
feel like
sure.
they're adults so they
Yeah.
can do these adult things. And when we see in these books that, you have these 20-year-olds, these 25-year-olds grooming these teenagers and then them entering into abusive relationships, that's really hard for me. That's not something that
Yeah,
I can get into. It has to be a very specific author, it has to be a very specific story for me to get into it because it's too close to real life for me to enjoy it and to think of it
right.
as romance because I my brain does not shut off enough for me to be like, oh yeah, they're so cute and in love. I just can't, because she's
And
that's a child, like
yeah.
brain is not
Yes.
even fully developed yet. So,
Anecdotally, I am a journalist and I did my capstone for my master's program talking to homeless black and brown queer youth, and
mm,
3 of the 5 people I talked to talked about how they were groomed into the relationships that ended up with them being homeless. And
mm,
it was, I literally was in tears talking to these people.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. They were like, no, I'm crying too. Just like, because you want, it's hard enough being like, we're veering off a little bit, but I think it
yeah,
comes back to the point that these some of these books kind of romanticize things that shouldn't be romanticized.
yes,
And so
Correct.
as a queer youth, you're already vulnerable, especially if you're
mm-hmm,
black or brown,
mm-hmm,
because
Hmm.
in most households, in some cultures, especially in American black culture, like being queer now is a little bit more accepted, but
yeah,
20, 30, 40 years ago it was not. And it
mm-hmm,
was so hard to like come out and be like, oh yeah, I like girls, oh yeah, I like guys, oh yeah, I like
Right.
everybody, and like people, your family be like, get out of my house. And
yeah,
that's what was happening to them, and it was just like them sharing their stories so fully and trusting me to write it was one thing, but hearing it and having to, they kind of like relive it. And
yeah,
then to know that people romanticize that type of behavior,
Right.
it's gross. I
yeah,
don't know another word for it.
yeah.
um, but I guess it's a weird segue, but what drew you to dark romance?
That's
Mia, let's
quite
start
the
with you.
segue there.
It happens.
um, I think I was just really exploring what I wanted to write.
Mm,
And there was an opportunity to be part of an anthology full of dark romances, and I thought, well, why not? I want to try it out and see how I like it. And I ended up writing this one, and I realized there are some black, brown, dark romances, but there was a void. And
mm,
so I was like, oh, okay, well, let's really put this in here and let's do this, because there are people who want to read this, and they're looking for themselves in the books.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, great. So I'm going to do this. And then my whole trajectory changed. And so I ended up in rom-coms, but I do have full plans to go back to this series because I have a whole world built out
Yes, you
and
do.
a duet and a college scene. But I also did, and I don't count them as dark romance, but I have two under a pen name that are more of an erotic fantasy voyeurism type book. So I like
Mm.
to explore different avenues. I think of Romance Landia as kind of like your coffee shop. You can go in and order whatever you want. I want a tall dark romance with with throw in some of this and that, and
Yep.
and you can
Well,
order
here
up
you
what you want. And I love that because there's something for everyone. And that's the story I'm sticking with.
I love that. So so when I was thinking about 12 Nights, the first thing we were thinking about is like doing this like Christmas novella release. And I was just like, like I would love to do a Christmas novella, but I wasn't in the mood to like be like super cute, fluffy Christmassy. And I was like, what if I do a darker Christmas romance? And
Yes.
I think at the end of Insatiable, I had to kind of hold myself back a little bit because Denise's ex was doing some wild stuff, and I really wanted Hugh to hurt him, like in a real bad way. And I was just like, "That's not this book. That's not this book." So he just like chopped off a finger and made the man go away, right? Like met in the middle. But I still was like, man, I just really want to write something dark. Like I just want something like icky and gross and gory. And that's when I was just like, okay, 12 Nights. Um, so she's a grifter. She's a con artist, and she finds, him, and he's like a recluse a little bit. And she's just like, his family has, some heirlooms that I can take and kind of like return back to their rightful owners type of thing.
Mhm.
And
Robin Hood-esque.
very Robin Hood. And then she walks in on him literally disemboweling somebody in the basement, and she's like, oh,
Oh
he
my.
crazy. And I've been lying to him this whole time, so I gotta go. So she leaves, but he's kind of like watching her. He wants her. He loves her still. And he's like, eventually you're gonna come back. And when you come back, he gives her a phone, right? And so eventually she does end up coming back and needing him. And then he's just like, okay, well, let me explain to you what I do and why I do it. And, I kind of threw a little bit of mythology into it. And it's set in London, which I lived in London for a few years. And so I'm just like, this is everything that I wanted to do. And I had a ball. I had so much fun writing this book. People were getting tortured. I was researching things that probably got me put on lists, and I'm just having a time. And I was just like, this is fun. Like, this is absolutely fun to me. And it's like, it's sexy, it's gory, it's funny. And I'm just like, oh, yes, I like these. And so to me, like, that's what I wanted. I wanted something, where he's obsessed with her. And, he's, kind of, he's vigilante. He's a little bit of a psycho, but not too much of a psycho. And I feel like it was like the perfect blend, right? But going back to what we were saying earlier, I feel like it's hard to call it a dark romance because it doesn't have all the hallmarks of the traditional
Right.
dark romance like genre, right? Like they're both doing like really nefarious shit. They're, both like torturing people. Like there's a lot of blood and guts, and he kind of was stalking her a little bit, but like it doesn't give that like full on like stalkery like psycho feel that you get in a lot of dark romances. And so I've been like saying it's like dark romance light, or it's just like a dark
Light.
romance instead of calling it.
There's a full disembowelment, and you said light,
Light.
ma'am.
Well,
I mean, if you think about some of the other ones.
True.
True.
Okay. Comparatively,
light,
yes. Okay, you are so funny. You
consider it
said
dark
light.
still.
I
Well,
feel it's
there's
dark.
oh, okay.
You're in the right subgenre. You're in there.
Yes. You did it right.
Appropriately.
Because they don't. Okay, so I don't chop the wee wees off. They just get like just mauled a little bit, and then he pours acid on them. But like I would think like it's dark.
It's dark. It's just it's a little different.
That's dark. That ain't light. You are hilarious.
It's not fully off. It's just a little off, and it's some acid to make it hurt.
It's just a flapping piece of meat at that point. You ain't gonna be able to use it ever again.
Lord
And that was
mercy.
kind of the whole point. Like if you take it off, that you just But if you leave it there, you get a little bit of hope that maybe it'll get fixed. It's not gonna get fixed. They fuck if that's fucked up. You ain't getting a new one.
Psychological at that point.
I am crying laughing.
That was
right
the
now.
point. It was intentionally psychological because they were like human trafficking bitches. Like, no, you don't get to use this anymore. This isn't for you.
Lord.
Listen. I think
I had some bullies in mind. I was like,
you're
I'm
on a different
dark light.
trajectory, Mia. It's two different parts of dark romance.
I know. I'm saying maybe I'm like gray romance. light gray.
No, because he was mean. And that whole like system in that book was like, no, that was dark because I was ready to fight.
Yeah, there was
but
there's some shady folks.
Yeah. It was dark.
I do like a really nefarious character though. Give me a diabolical evil person every time. I love that because it's like, yes, give me somebody to hate that I'm rooting for the hero to take them down. Yes, or heroine too. She'll find a way to flip that script on you, and yes. So yes. But maybe I need to get my little acid and stuff out. I need to start getting some things going.
Had some ideas that you mentioned before.
No, I do, but I do at some point in my life. I mean, I don't know which year it's going to happen because the back burner is chock full. I would like to do a full horror psychological thriller. Like, I've got the idea already. This killer is crazy, and everybody's going to love to hate him.
Yes.
I love a good love to hate.
Like, full disclosure, I've known Mia for 5 years. So, like, when I bring something up, that's why. And I can't believe it's been 5 years.
We got to do it. Everybody. Okay. I love those videos.
I think we kind of hit on some of the other questions that I had, but I think it's like the idea that mafia romance and urban romance. Both of those can be dark, and neither of those can be dark at the same time. Depends on how you write it, right? How would y'all define where those fall within the dark romance genre, or would you say that there's something else completely?
I mean, I think as we've discussed, there's a spectrum of darkness, and there's lots of different ways and vices that you can use to be considered dark. So I feel like what methods is the mafia using? Are they just threatening, or are they burning up buildings, or are they hurting folks? Is there a sexual element to it? Is there somebody that they're protecting, or romance? Is there a rival mafia? I think there's so many things you can take into consideration as long as you hit those hallmarks, like Ayla was saying. You hit those hallmarks of the dark romance, and you have the erotica. The romance is central, and then we like that little element of danger. That's the story I like, those three things.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to mafia romances, it's just like a blood version of urban romances as far as I'm concerned, right? Because urban romances are like found family, and mafia romances I feel like are just, familial romances where it's just like, that's actually my brother, whereas on the other side of it, like, that's my brother, we've been through a lot together. I don't think that there's much difference other than that, right? Because they can, like Mia was saying, they have that spectrum where they can balance on one side or the other, where they can get really dark, or they can be pretty tame, right? I just feel like the only difference is skin pigment, right? Because
interesting.
It's very true, though.
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering if one of y'all was going to mention, because like we don't see a whole lot of non-white or spicy white mafia romance. Like there's this idea that black or brown mafia doesn't exist, and I'm like, did y'all miss that part in history? There was a whole mafia in LA, and they was black. Did y'all know that?
Right, but they consider black gangs.
But
so we're gangs, but they're mafia.
A mafia.
I know. And I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying
they're like, no, gangs are black and brown. Mafia is Italian, Russian.
Right, and it's the exact same thing. Yes.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say
That
the
is
things. I'm gonna say the things. I'm gonna be controversial, and I don't care.
absolutely.
But it's true because if you look at the mafia books and you place them next to urban romances, beat for beat, the plots are pretty much the same. Like they go through the same things. You have someone
Mm-hmm.
who isn't in the family who randomly, ends up connected with something and then they like kidnap her, try to protect her, whatever. Or it's somebody who's been there the whole time and, they start to have feelings for her or whatever. But there's no fundamental difference other than
Yeah,
skin color and,
Right.
it being found family or actual family. Like
yeah.
you can't. I've
Yeah.
never read one that I've been like, oh yeah, that's absolutely mafia and nothing else. Oh, this is absolutely urban romance and nothing else. Because it just no, they really are
Right.
very very similar.
And I
And
think
do
it's
you consider them dark romance?
I do, and Olivia actually convinced me of this. Olivia Linden. I was talking to her,
I
and
love Olivia. She's so I love it.
we were talking about Product of the Streets, and Alice is like, well, I mean, it's urban. I wouldn't really call it dark, and she's just like, they're like torturing people. They are like blowing buildings up. He's chasing her through the woods, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, you're right. That is a little dark." He uses a
Yes.
gun in places that I wouldn't have ever expected to be interested in a gun being. Also,
okay.
that's one thing that I really enjoy about dark romances is that they come up with all these weird, random things, and I would have never thought about that ever. And I'm just like, huh. I mean,
Interesting.
do I want a gun to go there? No. Am I fascinated by it? I sure am. I sure really am. Huh. Like a little diamond choker? Okay. That sounds fun to me.
Yes.
You know?
Right. I
Agreed.
need what they use to be a little practical sometimes because a knife it just don't seem right. Not the handle side, but the blade. Why are we doing that? You're
I
murdering
would.
her.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
What
Mm-mm.
are we doing? I'm
That's
just saying, let's
mutilation.
be a little practical sometimes. Like blood play is a thing, but that's murder almost. Like you trying to chop it up.
You're trying
Yeah.
to kill
No.
her. Like, that's what you're doing.
Mm-mm.
Like,
I had to stop reading one because I was like, whoop, too far. Too
you know,
far.
and I
I'm
think,
hurting.
I think that's what's also interesting too is like you have to know where your lines are,
Yeah.
and you don't
Mm-hmm.
know where your lines are until they've been crossed. You're just like, oh,
No.
I don't
Right.
get it now.
You know the little baby. It's just, whoop. It's definitely one of them moments. Um,
Mm,
we talked about a little bit, and I think we veered back into it now, but like the too dark for you type of things.
mm.
What
Mm-hmm.
else besides what was mentioned earlier, which was mostly like pedophilia and incest and such? Is there anything else that you would avoid writing or reading that's just a little too dark?
Mm.
Well, I said race play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
um probably I'm not interested in bestiality
Mm.
either.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there might be somebody who is. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
me. That's my
Mm-hmm.
line. And I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
just reiterate my line because a lot of people will be like, well, you said
You
for
said.
me, Heintzelman,
Yeah.
not for
Mm.
me.
Look, and
um,
that's the thing is like what's interesting too about bestiality is I feel like that's newer, right? Because I've been reading werewolf paranormal romances for a long
right.
time, and
Shape shifting.
knotting was not a thing until rather recently, and I'm just like, not knotting. Okay, he's a werewolf, cool. They're banging when he's in his human form, but now they're banging when he's in his werewolf. That's bestiality. That's a wolf. You
Yeah.
want to have sex with a wolf. That hey,
I mean, it's true though, but really though, if you consider the fact that people are doing things with aliens and with tentacles and all kinds of things, I mean, that's why I said for me, because
yeah,
there's like that's a don't yuck somebody else's yum situation right
true.
there.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a whole line of things that are not human that people are considering nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I feel
There,
like there's I think that's the line too is like when it veers far enough away from reality to be entertaining again. Because like
right.
if it's like a wolf or if it's like a bear or a horse, like But like an
Right.
alien with a big old horse dick, I feel like that's different,
I
right?
agree
Like
with that.
you're like, oh, he's blue and he's 8 feet tall. Okay, I
Yeah, but
mean,
look what he's got. Or if he's got multiple.
yeah, he got the suction cup one. You know, like what? Here, you can keep this one
See?
for
No.
later. Like, what's happening?
I agree though. Like it gets a little out there sometimes, but I actually was like pleasantly surprised reading, and I think it's the only one I actually read through. Beauty by Jack Harbin.
Mm.
Mm.
It's a Beauty and the Beast play, and he
Yes.
stays Beast the whole time, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, but Jack, who goes by
Did it
Brit
with
now,
care.
she did her
Yeah.
thing.
Mm. Okay.
That's
So
what I'm
yeah, so
saying.
that's
So,
one, and it's the only one that I've actually read through and was like,
Mm.
I
right.
don't feel uncomfortable.
I know, but it's just
Hey.
like in my mind when I'm saying bestiality, I'm thinking about like a horse, a
I
straight
mean,
horse. He's
he was
not
the
an alien
beast from
horse or
Beauty and the
anything.
Beast. Think like the
Yeah, but did he
damn.
have appendages or what?
You read the
He's
book.
if he's anatomically human, I feel like that's one thing. But I think I'm trying to figure out when we got to the point where we got
Africa,
werewolf books where people were banging the wolves. Like I don't know where that
turn
I
into a
don't.
wolf for me, please. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
a lot. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah. So I don't think that there's any hard too many. I say too many hard and fast
yeah.
lines, but I think it's an individual thing. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
draw the line? And
Yeah.
then there's those universal ones like pedophilia
Mm-hmm.
and race to me.
Yeah.
Is it so universal since it pops up very often?
I'm saying that should be
Yeah.
universal in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, one that I personally can't dig on is like age gaps that are, bigger than probably like 20 years.
Mm.
Um Heavier on the age gaps where she's like 18,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
or they like knew each other and he was like her dad's friend and he watched her grow up. Like that's I
There's a lot of those now too. There's a whole
I
lot of
The
know.
my
daddy
ex's
kink.
dad or my
Mhm.
somebody's dad type stuff. I have not
And I
written one
feel
of
like
those
that
yet.
falls on the border of dark because it's more taboo.
Mhm.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like depending on what's happening in the story will
Yeah.
make it
Right.
dark or not. But yeah,
I
that
mean, if she's
that is
not
definitely possible.
18, I feel like if we got somebody in their 20s and somebody in their 40s, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone who
Absolutely.
I
experienced
think
life a
if the
little bit.
word teen is behind the
Exactly.
name,
Mhm.
that's probably where it feels a little iffy to me.
Mhm.
They don't even have their full frontal cortex filled.
Cortex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's,
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm just like that's why I the pedophilia thing, it feels like it's a spectrum for me because I feel like if you're grooming somebody 18, 19, and you're like 50 or 60, like that's still as problematic, frankly,
yeah.
as if she was 16 or 17.
Right.
So it's just it feels icky, and I think also again like it's just too close to real life because there are a lot of situations that happen like that in real life.
That are
Right.
Um
currently happening.
yeah.
It's just a lot of things with dark romance where
Mhm.
it's going to run on a spectrum and you
Yeah.
have to determine where the line is,
Yeah,
I think.
I
definitely.
think there's also the like another one that gets a lot of weird play sometimes. Not weird in the aspect of the. Let me continue talking. What is it, Daddy Dom Little Girl,
Mm.
and how
Mm.
that works. I know that's not very dark necessarily, but it is another one of those taboo topics that kind of, if it's done well, it's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't have the
Right.
icky feel to it, where it's like, oh,
Mhm.
you're romanticizing this versus like
Yes.
role playing.
Yes.
Right. Plus I
Mhm.
like sometimes it's nice when it's like, oh, you've been a good girl and she likes it. And
See?
you're like, oh, okay, I'll be a
You're like,
little
ooh,
good girl, you know?
yes, I
Yeah.
have. Like,
But
yeah,
I think it's you see how she enjoys that and it wants more of that. And that
Mhm.
makes it a little bit more okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, that's the biggest thing for me when it comes to dark romance, is that she has to be enjoying it.
Yeah.
And,
It
I
has to be
have to be
mutual.
enjoying it vicariously through her. I have to be enjoying the
Right.
story. I have to be vibing with it. But like, if it's just all these things being done and it just feels off, like
Mm-hmm.
she's not really into it, I'm not going to enjoy myself. And even like in some situations where she's just like, "Oh, this is great," and I'm just like, "Ooh, is
Like, girl,
it?"
you don't even sound convinced yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Like you
Add
said,
that
you
to
were
your
trying to
list.
convince yourself. You ain't gotta. You gotta convince you before you can convince me.
Like your internal monologue is not matching what's coming out of your mouth on these pages, honey.
Exactly.
Sure, it's not.
I think dark romance has become the catch all, like you were saying earlier,
Mm,
for the taboo kink that people want to
Yes.
mm,
explore. And instead of it being dark themes of like murder and
mm,
Mm-hmm.
nefarious acts, as you were also saying earlier, it's just like, I want to try this really off the wall situation that I think people will be like, ooh, that's dark, I like it. And it's like, is it dark or is it just
Right.
taboo?
mm-hmm.
Right. Or is it just wrong?
You know?
Or are you just
Just
taking it too
saying.
far?
Yeah.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
think one thing that we always have to keep in mind too is that we're not all morally on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
We all
Correct.
are coming from
Correct.
different cultural backgrounds. We're all
Mm-hmm.
coming from different countries, and it's like there's all of these different aspects to like how we're raised, and something that feels icky to me might not feel icky to somebody else. And hey, I love
Right.
that for you. I don't love that for me, but you do your thing. That's fine. Um, but like you said, like I feel like taboo romance should honestly have its own little section.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
dark romance should have its own little section, and then erotic horror should have its own little section. But I
Correct.
feel like they
Yes.
all just kind of blend together because there haven't been any real like hard and fast rules for each
Mm-hmm.
genre.
Yeah. I
I'd
think
like to
that.
add, I've noticed recently, with romance being such a profitable genre, there's
Mm,
also that commercial aspect where people who are coming from out of who knows where out the woodwork, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to slap this label on it because I
Mm-hmm.
want to make money. And
Yeah.
they don't know anything. They don't care about the romance aspect of it or the happily
mm-hmm.
ever after, the
Yep.
happy for now. They don't care about the hallmarks of what each subgenre should be or a reader expectation should be
Yeah.
on there or
Mm-hmm.
is looking
Absolutely.
for. And they're just looking to capitalize.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think we'd be remiss to leave that aspect out.
Yeah.
Mm.
People are just
Mm-hmm.
throwing things in because I can make money on it
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
with
think
no
a lot
care
of
for it.
I think a lot of people don't know what romance is because of how things have been delivered. It's just like, oh,
Mm,
I love this romance story. Oh, and they get to describing it and it gets to the end. It's like,
right.
but they both did. They
Right.
both
Where's
died.
the happily
Oh,
ever after?
That's a
are
tragedy.
they happily dead together? Like, I don't get
Right.
it.
That's a
Yes, it's a
drama.
tragedy. It was a romantic tragedy. It wasn't
Right.
Mm-hmm.
a romance.
And I
It's
think
different.
subgenre blending has let people think that, oh, well, then I can get rid of these aspects too that readers are looking for.
Mm.
And then don't be mad when all the readers are mad that they didn't get
Yeah.
what they were
What you
promised.
said, yeah.
Because when you have romance, people are expecting these people to be happy at the end. That's why they're coming for
Mm-hmm.
it. They know that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. If you're
Yep.
doing sci-fi, there better be some science and there better be some fiction in it. Okay, if you're
Yep.
doing thriller or suspense, where's the whodunit in it? Romance needs a love story at the center, and then it should end happily.
And that's the thing is like you have to understand before you can start making adaptations
Right.
and changes. And I
Yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
that's the bigger thing is you have to know the rules in order to know how to break them and where you
Correct.
can break them because if you start going
Yes.
left, right, and center, you're going to change the genre that your book is in, period, point blank. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
at the end of it, if people are expecting, all the beats of a romance novel and you're coming and you're doing all this crazy stuff and he's stalking her and he like kills her at the end, like that's not
And the
romantic.
couple's not together on the page. Like
It's
60%
not.
of the book, they're not together.
Ooh, don't even get me started on that.
I'm saying a lot of, I think the key we're trying to point out is that the craft has been lost and
Yeah.
replaced with the
Mm-hmm.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Say that
So,
again.
craft replaced by capitalism. Mm.
The wrong seed.
Mm.
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 No, for real though.
Yeah.
Ooh, girls.
So I think that leads into the question of the debate over what dark romance means and what the subgenre means. So, what does it mean to you? All right, let's start.
Uh, to me,
Down, Ayla.
I think, there's just like an inherent darkness in the world and in these characters, and they're navigating in these like morally gray areas and doing
Yes.
everything that they can in order to really survive. But their significant other is the light, right? It's the
Right.
person that they find, solace in. It's the person that they can, have these vulnerable moments in. And it doesn't necessarily take away from all the craziness of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives them a reprieve. And they have those moments of softness with each other. To me, that's what it is, right? Because when you're thinking of just romance in general, you have these you have, real life, and then you have this like softness that you have with, each other in the background. But I
Yeah.
feel like there has to be a certain level of like chaos and crazy outside to make
Mm-hmm.
that softness worth it. And I think that those extremes to me are what really
Mm-hmm.
play into a really good dark romance.
Yeah.
I mean, that was brilliantly said. There's not much I can add to that. I mean, yes, I'm good to agree. I don't have a lot more to add because you got the characters, you got the environment and setting, the situation itself, contrasting the softness with the darkness
Mm-hmm.
and the moral bending.
Yep.
Only thing I guess I can add is that the tone is
Oh,
and the
see.
language
Yeah.
is darker as well. There's no, there's a maybe like a pinch of comedic relief, but
Mm-hmm.
rarely any of that. It just feels darker and heavier with the language, and
Yeah.
that's about all I can add because you already hit all the marks, and I was just like, well, what else can I contribute?
Yeah.
The language, I'm gonna just say yes. It feels um, a little bit edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm.
You're just worried about your character for like what is
Yeah.
around the corner. You
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. You're holding on and clinging to the fact that it's a romance going to end happily ever after to get you
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's somebody you usually hate, and you're
Mm.
happy to hate them, and you're
Yep.
Yeah.
rooting for them to be taken down by the end. And I think that's it. Really, just the tone and the language. It's really dark, heavy, and edge of your seat.
Mm.
I think the intentionality of when you were getting to the point of like comedic relief, I think
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's not intentionally supposed to make you laugh, but it's
Right.
there because you
Mm.
need just a little underline of something happening.
Yeah.
Just to get a breath because you're
Yeah,
holding your
yeah,
breath most of the time. So, like, okay,
Yeah.
like nervous laughter when you're just scared, you just, oh, shoot, this is danger
because
right
it's
around
like,
me. They about to get me.
I'm in danger.
Yes. That's stress laughter there. That's not coming.
but it still makes you kind of chuckle a little bit because you're like, this can't be
Yes.
real life. This can't be real life.
For
Right.
like,
Like,
real.
yes,
what am I
it
doing?
is.
This is
It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
in danger,
hysteria.
Sally.
Yeah. Exactly.
um, So, what is one thing you want? And we've hit on it very much, nailed on the head several times. But what's one thing you kind of want everybody to take away to know about the subgenre of dark romance?
But there has to be love,
Yes.
right? Like there has to be love, like with the obsession. There has to be, communication of some kind. Like
Hmm.
any hallmark of love has to be there, right? And
Right.
just because there's dark aspects, just because he's out there like murdering people left, right, and center, doesn't mean that he doesn't want to bang her when he gets home. Like, and that she's not willing to do it. You ain't got to take a shower. You can do it covered in blood, whatever, right? Like, you have to have that like space to really, feel the
Yes.
emotions and the beats of falling in love with another person. And I feel
Hmm.
like if you can't really feel that, then I would caution you to reframe what you're calling it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, brilliant. I'm going to say emotion needs to be embedded in this. We need to feel something, and in order to get that payoff by the end. I want
Mm-hmm.
to feel deep, hard emotion. I want to also feel the fear. I want
Yeah.
to feel that little bit of laughter that is
Mm-hmm.
hysteria. you know I just want to feel things while we're going through this. I should be feeling everything those characters are going through in order to get that payoff at the end, like,
Yeah.
okay, they went through all this because it was worth it at
Mhm.
the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I agree. I agree. Um, is there something that y'all got back burner, back of the stove? We ain't really thinking about it at the moment that you want to write that you haven't dived into yet.
Yes.
I mean,
Always.
Yes.
you kind of mentioned yours earlier.
Always.
Right. Well, this
Always.
book, it's going to be extended,
Mm.
and a second book to make it a duet.
You have to say what the title of the book
Oh,
is.
this is Devastated, part of the
Hey.
Wasteland series. It was a dark bully romance, and it still is, but I really want to strengthen the emotion in it, like I was saying,
Mm.
and add a little more depth, because where I want to take it in the second book is going to be wild. And
Mm.
so I need that connection there. So I'm going to be adding about 40,000 words to that, and then get the next one, and then come out with a really beautiful hardcover duet with foil
Mm.
letters and all the beautiful things in the
I
edges.
love it.
Girl, we're
Yeah.
going to fix her edges. Yes.
Ayla.
Okay, so 12 nights.
Woohoo.
12 nights. Um, Hilariously enough, this wasn't the book that I was trying to write. Like it is the book that I was trying to write, but you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, so there is a series, hilariously enough, that I have plans in this universe. And it'll
Mm.
be like a friend of his, and she. So the reason why she comes back to London, so she leaves at the very beginning, and then 2 years pass, and then she comes back for a funeral. And so the funeral, it was a whole side story about the funeral. Her friend, who was like a grifter, who was kind of like her mentor, she had a whole team of people, and she was murdered. And so I had a
Mm.
whole series based around the team of people that were like stealing stuff. It was very leverage. And
Love it.
so that's kind of what I have right now.
We want the
Tentatively,
other
it's
11 books in that series.
I'm working on two right now. I can't
No
help
pressure.
myself. I can't help myself. But so it's tentatively called the Deck series because they're all gonna have like card names.
Ooh,
Uh,
love it.
Oh, love it.
so I'm very excited about it, but I also have to do some other stuff first.
Yeah, feel that.
Isn't
See, I
that the
said back
case
burner, back of the
always?
stove, get to it eventually. We know we want to do
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
I feel that. I mean, I started my Patreon and I was like, I'm gonna start it with the sapphic mafia romance that I've been like pondering for several months. Like
Love
Do
that
it.
it's just
it.
been in my throat for the longest. And I'm like, I'm gonna start here because I've bordered dark romance with my romantic suspense anyway. I've dove into human trafficking, I've dove into serial killers, but it was always like the antagonist. And I'm like, let
Hmm.
me go ahead and move that over and make one of them the main character eventually. And I have some more ideas for that. So I feel
Hey, I
y'all.
love it.
Y'all
Yay.
just making me feel all teen ditty and happy and stuff.
I just need to learn how to write faster because I got so many ideas. The idea
Yo.
folder is brimming over, and I would just like them all to be coming out. Yes.
I went and before Black Romance Book Fest, I went through a bunch of my files and just like renamed everything. I have so much stuff in there. And it's
Yes.
all good. That's the worst part. Like none of it
Exactly.
sucks. And I'm just like, I don't have the time and the because I have a
Like
book.
What a horrible
I was
problem
in
that none of it sucks.
Ah! So
Dang
I have a
it.
book coming out at the end of this month, and then
Woohoo.
I'm doing a spin-off for the Just a Taste series from Cleo's perspective, which everybody has been asking me about this entire time. So I'm starting that, and then there's a small town cowboy romance that I'm working on at the same time. And I'm just like, I don't have
Yes.
enough hours in the day.
Same,
Feel that.
same.
Feel
Mm.
that. Feel that. Speak before we get to what we're working on, because that is one of the questions I want to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a book in your catalog, Dark? I think you only have
Mm.
one, Mia, right? Like that's out there.
I have three.
What the fuck? Did I miss
Mm.
Well,
one?
this one's dark, but remember I was telling you I have the two darker erotic
Oh,
voyeurism
right.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
ones.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
So, one book that you think that people should read from your catalog that's on the darker side, and then one
Okay.
from an author that you love and you just could not put down.
Well, for
I give
me,
you a
there's
moment to think.
Okay, you
for
go,
me
Ayla.
there's
Go.
there's for me there's only 12 nights. So that is set in London with the grifter and the vigilante murderer, killer, whatever, cleaning up the streets. Uh, and I think I'm just gonna have to go with like an Old Faithful. I think probably Product of the Streets 3 is one that I highly recommend. Um, by E. Bowser. Just because I just love all the different um, all the different ways that she explores all of these different types of kinks. But simultaneously, you have found family, you have these women who are a little bit, unhinged, and these men who are fucking nutso, sexy as hell, crazy, and they just they all have a really good time together, separate, and
Oh,
it's so much fun. And I think that that's the thing, is like, when I'm reading these books, I want to have fun,
yeah.
like you said, like
Yes.
some of the aspects of like the humor, it takes the edge off of all the insanity, and that's so true. um so true. Like, I think it's King by S.J. Tilly. He kind of kidnaps her, and then like it's just funny. It's just funny. And then like they want to bang in front of people, but he's like, "I'm not going to let anybody see you naked." But then they bang in front of this guy, and then he kills him afterwards, and it's
Right.
so much
He's like,
fun.
he saw you, but he can't tell nobody.
Exactly. He saw it, but he ain't leaving his room. Like that's, to me, like, I want to have a good time. I want to kick my feet. And if I'm not in here having a good time kicking my feet writing it, then I feel like it's a waste. So I gave you two books
Okay.
instead.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Look,
Okay,
these
this is
corrects for
my
us and everybody else.
dark romance to start with. It's Devastated. I don't have the copies. They're on their way. I'm about to restock. I'm going to recommend an author, and I'll just go with Theodora Taylor. Has a lot of dark
Mm.
romance. So
What's one book by her you would recommend?
I'm going to go with, I said Theodora Taylor. I'm going to say Her Ruthless Crush. Okay.
Okay. So tell us where to find you, websites, upcoming books, events, your social media, all the things. Give us all the things.
Okay.
Whichever who want to start.
Let's go alphabetical order. Go ahead.
Okay, good thing. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I'm primarily on TikTok and Threads these days. At Ayla Cox Writes. You can find me at my website, www.aylacox.com. I am. What was the other thing that you asked?
Upcoming books.
Event.
Upcoming books. Okay. So I am in an anthology, Love It, Harriet, that drops on the 27th of June. And I have a book in there called Okay, But What If? It's kind of second chance, not really. Kind of like Loathe to Love. They used to be friends
Yeah.
back in the day. And she, she overheard him say something, and it kind of just, she just removed herself from the situation.
I feel
And years later they kind of run into each other again, but she's, in a place where she can make his life a little bit more difficult. She chooses to,
you.
and then she starts to realize there's a little bit more between them than they originally realized when they were back in high school. And it's a sports romance. He's the assistant coach for the basketball team, and she is a film major working on her thesis, which ends up being a documentary about basketball. So
Ooh.
um, That's coming out at the end of the month. And then hopefully at the end of this year, I will have Cleo's first book out, which is a spinoff of the Just a Taste series. And then I'm also hoping to have my small town cowboy romance out, and that is also kind of a love to love, which I'm very excited about. And then possibly a Christmas book. We'll see how it goes.
You said I'm doing all
Possibly.
the things. I'm doing
'Cause
all the things.
Yes.
I just got so much in my brain.
Yes, same.
Do you
Okay.
have any upcoming events remaining for the year?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few for 2026, but I think I'm tapped out for this year unless unless I can get into Love and Tech. If I can get into Love and Tech,
I
then
hope
I'll be
so,
there.
because I'm going. So I hope
I'm
you
probably
can.
gonna go to Love and Tech anyways because it's literally right down the street from. It's not
Yeah,
right. It's like
Or
an
you could
hour
come
away.
visit me in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Book Festival.
you could do that. You should apply.
It's on the same coast. It's on the same coast.
Yeah.
It's one day on a Saturday. Have you a Vegas weekend.
It's in
Girls
October,
trip.
right?
You don't
Yep,
have to
October
be.
18th. Look at me
Oh,
selling it.
oh no, hold on.
It's fun though.
Come
Like
on. It is. It's
I keep
one
looking
day.
at all the videos, and I'm like, I didn't go last year. Why did I go? I didn't go the year before. Why
You
did
don't
I?
have to twist my arm to get me to go to Vegas. I
That
have a
part.
problem. I have
Come
a.
on.
I will be at the craps table for 3 or 4 days
I'm
straight.
just saying, I will be here,
I.
which is another draw, so we could be together as
Mm,
friends.
mm, okay, I'll look into that.
Okay.
Okay, Mia, where can we find you on the socials and the website?
Okay. Mia Heintzelman, author on all platforms. I'm primarily on Instagram, Threads, and I try hard on TikTok. I try hard. We're going to give it a strong A for effort, okay? I try. Okay, I did not say A for success, but I am doing my best, okay? I don't understand the
That's all
algorithm, but
that
I
matters.
be
That
out
That's all
there,
that
algorithm,
okay?
matters.
that algorithm is against us. I swear.
I
And
am
then when
on
you.
Facebook. I don't use it often, but I am there, and I have made myself a goal of going at least once a week. It gives me a little anxiety, so I have to limit my time.
Hmm.
My website is miaheintzelman.com, and I have a newsletter and an ARC team on my website. I just redid my websites. Feel free to go to miaheintzelman.com, check it
Mm.
out. Upcoming releases on June 24th, we have The Divorcitante. I pulled it up so that people could see it. I
Yay.
don't have copies, as we've noted. And also, there will be a Christmas book. I'm aiming for September. And, I try to have a holiday book every year.
You
So
do.
it would feel really weird not to have one. So, yes, holiday book and The Divorcitante. And then I'm also working on the sequel of The Divorcitante right now.
Mm.
But I think that's coming next year.
If
But
y'all,
where will I be? I will be at
Mhm.
Las Vegas Book Festival on October 18th. It's a one-day festival. We're really growing. Lots of new. We just got our first romance bookstore here in Vegas, and they're going to be there. We also have a
Awesome.
Black-owned bookstore, Analog Dope.
Analog dope.
Yes, please support
Yes.
them. And then after that, I'll be at Steamy Lit around
Mm.
Halloween, and I will have some giveaways. And my Baventi is open for both events, as well as Boozy Book Tour for next year. Will be here in Vegas in February.
I
Oh,
will be there at that.
Yay! So we for
I
sure
miss
have
that.
something on the calendar to see each other.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'll be at Boozy Book Tour in 2026, and there's Chocolate City Festival. I'll be there
I put that
too,
on
and
my
that
list,
what, June?
but that's on the
It's
East Coast.
I
it's
know.
it's April 25th because it's indie bookstore day.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to cut myself off. These book festivals are so much fun,
It's here
but
in
I
DC.
do. I know on
You
the
have to
coast
come
that's
visit
not where I
me.
live, where it's
Come visit
expensive,
me. You'll
hotels and
have a
stuff, and
place
I'm
to
trying to be in the
stay.
black at the end of the year.
No,
Okay,
for real. For real.
it
Listen,
gets
mhm.
costly, and
It
I
really.
have
Especially now we got to pay for
thick
luggage on
goals.
Southwest. Like, I can't just. That's rude.
You got to pay for luggage. You got to pay for your seat now. They playing spirit games.
Yes,
I mean.
look, I'm trying. This is a business, and I need to be in the black at the end of this
Mm.
year. big in the black.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
Not just barely scraping by.
No, I need to be
Mm-hmm.
all the way in it, reveling, swimming in it. You know.
Yo, for real, I want to quit my job like that.
That
You know
part.
what's crazy is that felt like such a pipe dream, but after Black Romance Book Fest, I was like, oh, this is something that I can
Yes.
actually do. Like
I was
this,
feeling really invigorated. I was just
right?
feeling motivated and fueled,
Oh,
recharged, all of the good things.
All of it.
man,
Yes.
I felt all of the love
Yes.
in that room, all of it. I was like,
Me
yeah.
too.
Every
It
ounce.
was such a reunion and it felt so good. And then imagine
Mm.
next year when we go back, we're going to get picked, just seeing everybody again after you had that. It's going to be so awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking
Absolutely.
forward to it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out how to be in that room.
In the room where it
Yes.
happens.
Right.
Hey.
Manifesting it now. But no, thank y'all both for coming on. It's
Thanks for
been
having us.
Yay, thank
such a good
you.
conversation, getting into such, a topic that is a little harder to talk about sometimes.
Yeah.
So really did appreciate both y'all, Mia, Ayla. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for having us.
This is good. Let me try and do my intro, my outro. This has been Ray's Corner. I want to thank both of y'all for coming on and giving us laughs and realness and literally diving into something that people don't want to discuss in this type of way.
Yeah.
Writing can be a lonely process. Reading can be an interesting process. But when authors come
Accurate.
together and we get to talk about things like this, we bring to light information that I don't think folks always necessarily think about. So
Right.
it's nice to meet new people, hear new ideas, talk about different approaches to folks' craft, and get inspired because I heard some inspiration for both of y'all.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
So
indeed.
one more thanks to my panelists today, Ayla Cox and Mia Heintzelman. And make sure y'all check out their books that are coming out at the end of the month. There's the anthology, Ayla. What was it called
Yes.
again?
Love it, Harriet.
And Mia has.
There it is. Look, do not hate. I am doing my best, okay? Give me an A for effort, all right?
That part.
There's a better
She's
one.
using what she got, okay?
Yes.
High society hijinks. We love it. We
I got
love
no books right now, and I'm really feeling weird that I have no books in stock.
It is
Okay.
a little weird, but it's okay because it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And we know that the books are done because you had some at Black Romance Book Fest.
Mhm.
Yes, that was so awesome. I was so excited to see people with it in their hands because that was the first time I got to see the physical copies. I was
It
like,
was
yes,
so
yes,
cute.
yes.
So cute.
Thank you.
Did anybody bring you like annotated copies of your books to sign? Because that to
I got
me,
one.
I was just like, oh my god, is annotated? You really like it?
Isn't that just like an author goal? Like, check.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Oh.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that bag
one
with all
brought
the
me that,
books
but I
and it
have-
has your title.
Yes. I had someone bring an anthology that I
Somebody
did.
brought me a bookmark and my book is on it.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
It's tempting.
Oh my God, I love it. Frame it.
Yes, frame it, keep it forever. Like
Yes,
love
absolutely.
at that. The love was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It was just would not.
It was reaffirming in a way that I don't think we could have expected because sometimes you feel like nobody sees you or are they out there? And it was like, yes, they are out there and in full force and showing love.
Yeah.
So when people say that, Black creators are not showing up, they are lying big time.
Yeah.
Because they are there and they are showing so much love.
Yeah.
Yes. As a reminder, nobody put Ray in the corner unless she's gushing over books. We out.
Ah.